the Reverend Pamela June Banks Anderson. We are on location at St. Stephen's Community Church, United Church of Christ. We have members here on this subject as we discuss this subject of immigration and interfaith issue. We have guests here that will be introducing themselves shortly hereafter. The primary purpose of Serenity is to share with you information and inspiration. If we are to have peace on earth and goodwill toward all, it must first begin with individuals having peace and goodwill within. Please recite with me the prayer for which this show is named. God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This time we are going to continue the show with our sister Marilyn Bernard, immigration educator with Samaritans, Green Valley, Arizona, who lives 7 months of the year with us here in Lansing, and then for 5 months of the year, when it gets good and cold, she leaves us here suffering and goes to Arizona. Sister Marilyn, again, tell us a little bit about yourself and why this is so important to you, and then you have an additional 10 or 15 minutes before we go into questions and answers.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here tonight and to be invited to participate in this panel. My interest in Spanish and in the Mexican people in particular, I know this is about immigration in general, but my focus is Mexico. Goes back to when my family had an exchange student in the 1961-1962 school year. I subsequently became a Spanish major, taught Spanish at the high school level for 33 years, traveled with my students to both Spain and Mexico on numerous occasions, and wanted to retire somewhere close to Mexico, as well as be somewhere warm. And we, after much travel, settled on Arizona, Green Valley, which is 25-30 miles off the Mexican border. And that's where we spent 5 months out of the year working on immigration issues. We came to that rather slowly by attending seminars just like this and getting to know Green Valley, getting to know Southern Arizona, and were invited at one of the seminars that we attended to join a group called Samaritans, which is a faith those spots regularly. Many of them, in fact, many of these bodies are found by people who are hiking. It's their hiking trails, they're walking their dog, or they're going out for their walk. So that's what little we feel that we can do to make sure that these people aren't totally forgotten. We also do things like this. In Arizona, this is probably my 7th or 8th presentation to actually be involved on a panel, and I've attended many, many more. Many of the churches down there do them. The Samaritans do a border issues fair the 3rd Saturday of January every year. We also lobby for immigration reform. We spend almost as much time in Phoenix as we do in Green Valley. And that's something that you all can be involved in as well. You've already heard that this is coming. The immigration reform is coming. You know, you can write your congresspeople, phone them, let them know what your feelings are on that issue. We also operate in Mexico. There are 4 shelters in Nogales, which is right across the Mexican border. It's actually Nogales, Arizona, and Nogales, Sonora. 2 are private, run by wonderful Mexican families, extended families, who basically have dedicated their lives and their fortunes, so to speak, to helping the migrants. One is run by the Mexican government, and the one that we work at most often, which is referred to as El Comedor, because they serve food there twice a day, is run by the Catholic Church, the Sisters of the Holy Eucharist. And that's where we do most of our work, although we do work at all of the shelters. But the meal, the main breakfast is served at roughly 9 o'clock, and then we're allowed to go in about 10:30. And we do much of the same type of work as we do on the other side. We do first aid, we pass out clothing, shoes, socks, toiletries, towels, blankets. And, oh yeah, my husband's baby. Yes, one of the most important things that we do is give people the opportunity to make phone calls. Many of them are deported. They have no money. They have no way of contacting anyone. We allow them to use our phones. Several of our members have the international cell phones. Or sometimes we make the calls for them. We make contact with their families for them. We also help them if they want to go back, and we encourage them to go back. We say, please don't be one of those red dots on that map. We don't want to see your name on that map. Please don't go back into that desert. And if they want to go back home, we buy them bus tickets. And we have a deal with one of the people down there who owns a small bus station. It doesn't go real far. It goes maybe just a couple 100 miles either way, anyway, in Mexico. But he gives us a discount on tickets. He's very involved in the movement with us. The troops along the Arizona border to, quote, start shooting, unquote. Samuel Wolsbacher, known to most as Joe the Plumber, made an appearance at a fundraiser for an Arizona state senator over the weekend and told the audience that the way to solve the country's immigration problem is to station troops along the border and have them start shooting. For years, this is a quote, for years I've said, you know, put a damn fence on the border going to Mexico and start shooting. I'm running for Congress, and that should be a bad thing to say, but you know what? It's how I feel. I want my borders protected. I'm very adamant about that. He did lose, thank God. But it does also remind us during the primaries of Herman Cain, who said we should electrify the fence and fry them all. This is not pretty when you live right off the Arizona border. It is not the least bit pretty. It's vicious, it's nasty, it's hostile. Let me give you the Samaritan response. Received this email on Monday, October 22nd. From one of my fellow Samaritans. Yesterday afternoon, we were flagged down by a migrant right by the creek bed just off Aravaca Road. He was a young adult male named Carlos from Tijuana, on his way to Phoenix, where his wife and children are, whom he has not seen in 3 years. He speaks good English, and as we were talking, more migrants came out from hiding in the heavy brush of the arroyo. I'm not sure how many were in their group, but I saw at least 5 or 6 who all looked to be in their 20s and 30s and in fairly good shape. Carlos said that they had been walking in the desert for 8 days and had been 3 days without food or water. However, he said that they were all okay medically and wanted to keep going. He asked if we had any food and water to give them. We gave them all the food and water we had, probably not enough, and I told him where we were. He offered to give me money for food and water, to which I, of course, said no. He asked me if I could call his wife Sandra in Phoenix to let her know he was okay. I called Sandra, who cried for most of our conversation. She was very thankful for the call because she had been worried sick about him. She had heard from him 3 days ago, which was about when they were running out of food, and she knew that he was crossing in Arizona. So there you kind of have both sides of the story. Another brief thing that I would like to say about working to try to keep people in Mexico. These people do not want to come here for the most part. They want to be with their families. They want to be with their loved ones. They want to be in the home that they love, just like you love your home. And one of the things that we could all do is to support microloan projects. Many of our churches are involved in things like that. There's an organization called Kiva, which puts out microloans all over the country. But of course, our churches along the border in Arizona, we try to focus ours towards Mexico, or Latin America anyway, as a way to keep many of these people there, to make them solvent, to give them a way to earn a living. The pendant that I'm wearing is from a microloan project, women in Nogales, Sonora. who make these pendants as well as other jewelry, and they make these pendants specifically for us. They say "No Mas Muertes" on them, and they make them specifically for our coalition. We then sell them at...
My name is Dennis Gates. My question to you is, because I'm new to this, don't know the, excuse me, don't know the terminologies. You might understand that there's leaders that bring these people across, like what I refer to like the Underground Railroad, that
Yes.
go back and forth all the time, bring other groups over.
Yes, they're referred to as coyotes in Spanish, or polleros, chicken hawks. I'm not sure why, but that's the term. And yes, they do. Some people do come independently, but yes, most of the time they do come with a coyote, and they pay him to get them across the border. The problem is, across the border is some of the driest desert that we have in this country, if you're talking the Arizona sector, the Tucson sector. And so, okay, here you are, you're in the US, bye, and they leave them. Now, sometimes they do get them all the way to Tucson. It depends on how much money you paid. It depends on what the arrangement was that you made with your coyote. And sometimes they do try to get them all the way to Tucson or all the way to Phoenix. But usually what they do is they contract to get them, pardon?
Just over the border.
Yes, just over the border. And then they're out wandering around in the Arizona desert for 8 or 9 or 10 or 12 days and don't know where they are.
Other questions at the other end? We'll pass it down. Give your name, please.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. My name is John Kermit. I just wondered if, given the political climate in Arizona, do you get a lot of resistance from the locals and the political establishment there opposing what you're doing, helping people?
Yes. In fact, people will say to me sometimes, they'll say, aren't you afraid out there? You know, we hear about all the stuff in Mexico, all this violence, and I say, no, we're only afraid of our fellow Americans, the Minutemen, the militia members, the guys like this who say, start shooting. We have been threatened. I personally never have, but members of our coalition out on the desert have been threatened with guns by people. It's toxic. It really is. It's toxic on the Arizona border.
Other questions?
I have Frank Dennis, Drew United Church. What are your suggestions? Now, you mentioned micro enterprise, but I assume micro enterprise isn't going to solve a lot of problems. What should the United States be doing in terms of economic assistance, or what have you, with Mexico?
Well, I'm not sure that the United States really can do anything about the economic situation in Mexico other than get rid of NAFTA, which has just been an unmitigated disaster for the poor people of Mexico. It's been fine for the wealthy and the middle class, but these people have lost their lands to eminent domain, and especially some of these people in the Mayan areas, the peasants, the Indian, the Native American peasants have done nothing for 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 years but farm the land, so they gave them a fair price for their land. So, what are they going to do now? But we're stuck with NAFTA, I think. All 3 countries, North American countries, are signatories to it. I don't see any way that it's ever going to change. I don't think that we will get anywhere trying to interfere in Mexico's economic system any more than we would tolerate them up here interfering in ours. I do think, though, that what we have to have is some agricultural visas. We don't even necessarily, we need more green cards, but a lot of the people that we work with don't want to be citizens. I've heard a great deal in the last week since the election about we have to get a path to citizenship. Well, we already have a path to citizenship. It takes a long time. It takes 10, 15, 20 years sometimes. It's way too long, but it's there. What we don't have is any way to come here legally in the first place. There are virtually no agricultural visas being issued, and there are virtually no green cards being issued. And I think if we were to go back to the policies that we had, and this is fairly recent, this is mainly since 9/11 attacks that these crackdowns have come, and the Mexicans were not responsible for 9/11. Those people were in the country legally, and you know, the Mexicans had nothing to do with it, but they're the ones who are doing the bulk of the suffering, and we really just have to have some visas so that these people can come here legally, do the work, go back, which is what most of them want to do then, and put a roof on their house, or bring running water in, or bring electricity in. If you got a chance to look at some of the pictures that we have back there of how the people live, you will see why they want to come. But most of them don't want to stay. This is a fallacy that we have, that everybody just wants to come here and live here permanently, because they don't. But once they get here, we now don't allow them to go back. They can't go back and forth freely as they could basically before 9/11.
We saw our technician, Brother Span, taping a conversation with your husband and taking some photos back there, and we're hoping that we'll be able to, kind of fade those in and out on the video. Pastor Tom, the more I'm listening, the more I realize how critical this is for churches, not just the United Church of Christ, but for churches across the board, synagogues across the board, mosques across the board, to be a part of our effort to address this immigration issue. And I'm wondering, are there any churches in Arizona that are helping you with memorial services? And what is being said about, are there morticians that are helping out gratis? This is appalling that people are being found dead. And it's almost like, okay, well, I had dinner, and I had for dinner, A, B, C, and D, and what's the big deal? I'm quite alarmed that that America is really crossing the border, and we are experiencing this on common ground.